In this video, we are going to show the end-to-end process of setting up a new merchant account on the Register web portal from scratch. We will configure the merchant with all the settings that would be typically used for a retailer using Register Core. In this example, we are configuring a toy shop with 2 stores but is not using the Customer Relationship Manager. When you first receive your account, your solution provider may have already configured some elements for you. In this case, only our company details have been entered and a web portal login has been provided. The first step is to open a web browser. We recommend using Google Chrome. Once in your web browser, enter portal.smartvolution.com into the address bar and hit enter. We will then see the Register web portal login screen where we can log in with the details provided by our solution provider. After logging in, we will see a dashboard with no values. This screen updates with today's sales values across the business. As this is a new account, we have no sales to view yet. There are several steps we need to complete to configure our new merchant account. These are create a profile, add our stores, staff members, taxes, any additional tender types, and any fixed discounts we might have. Once these are done, we will then move on to adding all of our stock by creating our departments and products. The final steps are to create our web portal users and add our store registers. The first process is to create a profile. A profile is a collection of settings that will be applied to a register. You might want to create multiple profiles so registers in separate areas are configured differently, but in this case we only need one, as all registers will be configured the same. To create a new profile, we must first click the config from the top bar and then click the profiles from the submenu. This will load the profile screen where all our profiles are listed. As we have no profiles yet, the table is empty. We will go ahead and click the New Profile button, give the profile a name and then click Create. Due to the number of possible configurations, the profiles are split into sections to simplify the process. We will not go into every configuration possible, but we will make some changes from the default setup for our retail scenario. Click the word General to expand on all the general settings. As you can see, all the configurations are either a drop-down menu, a number, a yes or no button, or some text. First, we will change the system to automatically update register when we complete a start day. After tapping Start Day on the register, it will automatically sync the data with the web portal to ensure all the products, prices, and settings are up to date. We will also select Yes to Extended Browser Enabled. This will show more products on the main register screen. The last thing to change in the general settings is to put our website in the custom URL so it can be accessed from the main menu within the register. Clicking the word Functions will expand the Functions section, and you can carry on changing your settings. Here we will set Enable Discount Limits to Yes and enter the maximum discount we will allow our staff to make. In this case, 50% for percentage discounts and £25 for price discounts. The User Permissions group allows us to control what feature permissions we are going to allow for different types of staff members. In this case, we want price overrides and refunds to always be approved by a supervisor, so we will go ahead and change these to supervisor approval. We are also going to change paid in and paid out to only be accessible to supervisors, as standard staff members should not need to take money out of the till. The Tendering group allows us to make changes to the quick tender buttons and settings. In this example, the default settings are okay, but if I were operating in another country, I might change the name in the quick tender buttons from pounds to dollars or euros. The Receipts group allows us to set up what types of receipts will print, as well as the receipt header and footer content, which is what prints at the top and bottom of every receipt. Again, all the default settings here work, but we do want to add our company details to the receipts. When entering the receipt header and footer, we can set the text alignment by adding either L for left aligned, C for centered, or R for right aligned, followed by the receipt line width and a colon. I already know the printer I will be using has a receipt line width of 40 characters, and I want the text to be centered, so I'll add C40 colon before each line of text. If you do not know the receipt line width required, please see our online manual which provides these details for all the supported printers. Moving on to the Tax and Commissions group, this is where we configure the tax rules. The actual tax rates will be set up later in this video. Again, many of the default settings are applicable for this scenario. However, if we were in the US, we would change all the tax settings to No. The only change we are going to make is to change the word tax to VAT in the tax labels. The hardware group is where we select what types of hardware we are using with our tills. Here we select the barcode scanner, cash drawer, card payment terminal, receipt printer, and finally the customer display. Each selection here will add specific settings for that piece of hardware, and this section will vary from customer to customer. In this example, we will be using the Verifone Carbon device with a Bluetooth socket barcode scanner, but your setup might differ as Register supports a variety of hardware. The settings we are entering here are device specific. The only generic setting here to point out is we are setting the cash drawer to open on card payments so we can store our merchant receipts. The branding group allows you to change the look and feel of the register by changing the colours used throughout the system. This is typically only used by large companies that want to ensure the tills are in keeping with their brand. However, in this example we will leave all the default settings. The last section within the profiles is the login group. This group of settings allows additional information to be recorded during a transaction, such as each time the cash drawer has been opened and for how long. These settings are used in countries where fiscal legislation is in place, such as Sweden and Norway. In our example, however, we will leave these turned off. It is now just a case of tapping the Save button to submit all the changes and then tap Close to return to the Profiles list. As you can see, our new profile is now displayed in the table. Now our profile is set up, we can move on to setting up the rest of our business. We will now add our stores. To do this, tap Config from the top bar and click Stores from the sub-menu. As with profiles, we will see an empty table, so we will click the New Store button to add our first store. When adding a store to the web portal, you will see a simple form to complete. It is just a case of entering the store details, which we will do now. Once all your store information has been entered, click the Save button to be returned to the stores list, where our new store will now be displayed. To add additional stores, simply repeat the process. The web portal uses this format throughout most of the system, where the table lists the items that you have created and you complete the form to add new items to the table. Now our 2 stores are created, we will add some staff members to the system. To add staff members, tap Config from the top bar and click Staff from the sub-menu. As before, we will see an empty table, so we will click the New Staff Member button to add our first member of staff. The staff member form requires nearly all the information to be entered. This includes the first name, surname and staff number, a 4-digit PIN the staff member uses to log in with, the staff role, which will be either a standard POS user or a POS supervisor, the commission rate if calculating commissions, and finally, tick which stores the staff members operate in. Only the staff commission is optional, all other fields are mandatory and are clearly displayed as required. Once all our staff members have been added, we will move on to setting up our taxes, which is also available in the Config sub-menu found on the top bar. Again, we are presented with an empty table, so we will tap the New Tax button to create our taxes. The tax form requires a tax name, a tax code used elsewhere in the system, and the tax rate. There is no limit to the number of tax rates you can create. Later in this video, we will assign tax rates against specific products. After adding all the required taxes, we will move on to setting up our additional tender types. These allow you to accept and record additional payment methods that are not built into Register and could include checks, vouchers and coupons to name a few. If you only accept cash and card, you can skip this section of the setup. To add an additional tender, click Config from the top bar and click Tender Types on the sub-menu. Click the New Tender Type button to add the new payment method, which in this example will be checks. On the tender form, first give the tender type a name, and then we have some options to choose from, the first being if we want the cash drawer to open or not. The note mode allows us to configure if a message note appears when tendering. In this case, we will say it is required as we want our staff members to record the check number in the transaction. We can then select if we would like a confirmation displayed, if the tender type should be in the cashing up process when we do an end of day, and if we can refund against this tender type. After entering your configurations, tap the Save button. The final items on the Config submenu we are going to do at this point is set up any fixed discounts we want available. To set up fixed discounts, select Discounts in the Config submenu and click the New Discount button. In the discount form, you must first give the discount a name, select either a percentage or value-based discount and enter the value. You can also enter an optional barcode that can be scanned to apply the discount to a transaction. After entering all the discount information, click the Save button. In this example, we have created two discounts, a 20% staff discount and a 15% forces discount. There are two remaining items in the config submenu we have not looked at yet. These are lists and product browsers. The lists section allows you to adjust all the list values within register. These are primarily the reasons a staff member selects when carrying out a certain function. For instance, the reason for a refund might be faulty or damaged goods. In this example, we are happy with the default values, but if you want to view lists, simply tap the menu button to the left of the list name. From here, you can then change the order as well as add, edit, or remove list items. The product browser section we will come back to after adding our products onto the system. Now we have all the fundamental settings configured, it is time to move on to adding all our products. We have a comprehensive video on how to load your stock onto the system. However, we will briefly run through the process here. We must first add our departments, which are in essence product categories. These can be done on the web portal, either individually or in bulk via an import. To begin adding your departments, click the word Stock from the top bar and click Departments from the submenu. Our departments will be listed in a table much like all our configurations we have just seen. The main differences here are the ability to search as well as multiple ways to add the departments. To add a department manually, click the New Department button. This will then display the department form. Enter all the department information and click Save when you are done. The department name, code, and tax are all mandatory. The description and image are optional fields. We will now go ahead and import our remaining departments using an import file we have already prepared. Again, see our video on adding stock for more information. To import our departments, click the Import Records button and click the white button to launch the open window. Navigate to the location on your machine where your file is, select the appropriate file and click Open. The web portal will first check the contents of the file to ensure the data is valid. When ready, tap the Import Departments button to start the import. After the import has completed, tap the Close button. We will now see all our departments listed in the table below. Now all our departments have been created, it's time to start adding products. This process is much like adding departments. We can add products either individually or in bulk via an import. To begin adding your products, click Stop from the top bar and click Products from the submenu. Again, like departments, we have multiple ways to add products, as well as the ability to search our product list followed by the table of products. To add a product manually, click the New Product button. This will then display the product form. Enter all the product information. The product name, SKU and department are mandatory. The barcode and supplier fields are optional. After selecting a product price type, we must select the appropriate taxes for that product, as well as the sales price either before tax or after tax. The buy price and commissions are optional. The remaining product fields such as image and description are all optional. When you have finished entering the information, click the Save button and you will see our newly created product. We will now go ahead and import our remaining products using an import file we have already prepared. Again, see our video on adding stock for more information. To import our products, click the Import Records button, followed by the Import Product Records, and click the white button to launch the open window. Navigate to the location on your machine where your file is. Select the appropriate file and click Open. The web portal will first check the contents of the file to ensure the data is valid. When ready, tap the Import Products button to start the import. After the import is completed, tap the Close button. We will now see all our products listed in the table below. Now all our products are loaded, we can update our stock quantities for each store. This is of course optional and can be done at any time. In this example though, we already know the stock levels for each store. Adjusting stock levels can be done manually or via an import. To adjust stock levels manually, first find the appropriate product using the search tool and click the list icon to the left of the product name. This loads the stock levels for that product. Click the edit icon to the left of the store to open the stock adjustment form, which will display the product details and current stock quantities for the selected store. It is now just a case of entering the new stock amount and selecting a reason, then tap the adjust button to submit the change. Repeat the process for any additional stores and products that you wish to adjust. You can also adjust the stock quantities in bulk using an import file. Again, for this video, we already have our file prepared. To import our stock quantities, click the Import Records button followed by the Import Stock Records and click the white button to launch the Open window. Navigate to the location on your machine where your file is, select the appropriate file and click Open. The web portal will first check the contents of the file to ensure the data is valid. When ready, tap the Import Stock button to start the import. After the import is completed, tap the Close button. The stock values for every product will now be updated. Now all our products have been added, we can move back to the config section to complete the remaining section, Product Browsers. This is the selection of products that are displayed in the middle of the register client for quick access. To add a product browser, first click Config from the top bar and click Product Browsers from the sub-menu. We can now create the new browser by clicking the New Product Browser button. The product browser screen looks slightly different to what we have seen elsewhere in the web portal. The first step is to give the browser a name that makes sense, as you can have multiple browsers configured. Below the name we have two tables. The left table shows which items are in the product browser and in what order. The right table is a search area for locating products you wish to add. To add items to a browser, it is a simple case of searching for the product in the right table, then dragging the product onto the plus icon in the left table. Repeat this process until you have added all the desired products. Most retailers use the product browser for popular items, non-barcoded items, and items sold at the till point. Once you have added all your desired items, click the Save button. In the interest of time, we will speed this process up. Now all the core configuration is done, we will go ahead and add any other web portal users for staff members that need access. This can be done at any point as it is not part of the core configuration. To add additional web portal users, click Admin from the top bar and click Portal Users from the sub-menu. The table will list all users that have access to the web portal. Our current user is already listed, as this was created by our solution provider. To add a new user, tap the New Portal User button. It is then just a case of filling out the form with the user's details. All fields on this form are mandatory. After entering the user's details, username and password, we must choose what level of access they will have. In this example, they are also an administrator. Click Save to create the user. The final stage of this process is to add all our store registers. We do this by creating devices and associating them to stores. To do this, tap Devices from the top bar. The Devices screen will show how many licenses you have allocated, how many are in use, and how many are remaining. The table below provides details of each device or register configured on the system. To create a new device, click the New Device button and give the till a name. Then select the license type, which store it is for, which profile it should use, and finally the product browser to use. Then click the Save button. You will now see the device listed with an enrolment code. This is the unique identifier used on the store register to configure each device. To end the video, we will enroll our device and log in to show how our setup looks on the store register. Please check out our more in-depth videos on each section of the web portal, which go into more detail. If you have any questions, further information is available in your user manual. Alternatively, please reach out to your solution provider who will be able to offer further assistance.